to get started. And
Sure. I've been there's the piece that I wrote earlier on in the pandemic, um, "Lay Me Down in Peace," which is based on verses from Psalms 3 and 4, and I've been sitting with it a lot recently. It's kind of resonating with me in a particular way this week. Harold, we're not seeing the text.
all right, so let me take care of that, Cantor. Thank you for
Uh,
letting me know.
Sure. And so yeah, it's been resonating with me differently. I think partially because maybe there are some additional reasons um, why some of us are losing sleep this week.
Is
Uh,
it
Yeah, right.
is it okay, Cantor? Can
yeah,
you
it
see
looks
that?
good now. Thank you, Harold. Um, and when I was asking Harold like what we were doing today, and so I could put some music, the idea of expressing hope, gratitude, patience, um, in a time of uncertainty and in betweenness, felt very appropriate. So this is again, some of you might be familiar already from earlier on, but maybe those have joined the class more recently. This is "Lay Me Down in Peace." Lay me down in peace, lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust, lay me down in faithfulness, and let me not forget that you are with me. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Koli el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in peace, lay me down in wholeness. For you alone, oh God, keep me safe from harm. Lay me down in trust, lay me down in faithfulness, and let me not forget that you are with me. Lay me down tonight, but don't lay me down alone. And when I call out, will you answer? Kodi el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Kodi el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Lay me down in love, lay me down in gratitude for all that I still have and all that's yet to be. Lay me down in grace, lay me down in glory, and raise me up again for a new day. Kodi el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Kodi el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni mehar kodsho. Kodi el Adonai ekra, vaya aneni
Wow, so beautiful. I've missed that. I really missed that. Thank you so much. It feels completely appropriate for today. So good morning, everybody, in quite another day for the history books, this world we're in. But we're going to, I think, Harold, we think we'll finish up with Psalm 11 today, right?
Yes, I do think so.
So before we go to your personal versions, we're going to go back to Psalm 11 to remind us. So we're going to just read it through once in Hebrew and once in English, and then Harold will guide us through the personal readings of them.
All right. So Yael Bat Chava, I believe, is standing by to read in Hebrew. Yael, is that correct?
I am here.
Okay. Good morning, Yael.
Good morning. למנצח לדוד, בהוויה חסיתי איך תאמרו לנפשי, נודי הרחם ציפור. כי הנה הרשעים ידרכון קשת, כוננו חיצם על יתר, לראות במו אופל לישרי לב. כי השתות יהרסון, צדיק מה פעל. הוויה, בהיכל קודשו הוויה, בשמיים כסאו עיניו יחזו, אף אפיו יבחנו בני אדם. הוויה צדיק יבחן ורשע ואוהב חמס, צנעה נפשו. ימטר על רשעים פחים, אש וגופרית ורוח זלעפות מנת כוסם. כי צדיק הוויה צדקות אהב, ישר יחזו פנימו.
All right.
I'm going to read the Fisher actually while Harold scrolls through the Sepharia, just so that we, as we're getting ready for our brains to absorb Psalm 11 again, we see two different versions of it for now, okay?
Yep.
I have trusted you. How can you say to my soul, take flight like a mountain bird? Can't you see? Crookedness bending its bow, setting its arrow on the string to shoot in the dark at the upright heart. When the foundations crumble, what is right? You are in your holy temple, reclining on your heavenly throne, yet your eye still sees us. Your gaze still proves us. I know you prove the upright, but crookedness and violence, these your soul casts off. You hurl burning coals at them. Fire and brimstone you rain down, and from their cup they drink, the flaming, ripping wind. For you are where rightness is. Rightness is your loving kindness. Your face glows with it.
Wow.
Okay, it's been a while since we've been with Psalm 11, so
Yes.
here we are.
Okay, hold on. Let me get the offerings up. And once again, thank you so much to Annika for helping to, wait a second, this is not working for me. Give me 1 second. Let me quit this. Quit this. All right, let's try this again. Thanks again for Annika. We had to go back to our records and ask everyone. We believe we now have all of the Psalm 11 offerings that were not read before. So we'll start with, if Sherry is with Sherry. Let me go to full page.
I'm here.
Yes. Okay.
I'm a little clamped today, so, but I got my tissue. Okay.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Figure out which are my reading glasses and which are, okay. Go ahead. Sorry, Sherry. I apologize. I'll put myself on mute.
No apologies. Interrupt whenever you want, Rabbi. Winter Garden after Psalm 11. Multitudes perish from plague, lynchings revive, skulls and skull caps smashed on the thresholds of temples, nowhere to flee, foundations crumble. Winter comes. Recall spring. In the quiet after the fall, dig the not yet frozen soil. Plant pansies on our path. Let them freeze solid, then emerge, grow, bloom, purple, yellow flame. Bed nemesia, snapdragon, sweet alyssum, and flowering stalk. If steady deep freeze blankets our landscape, don't despair. Protected planting beds reap a crush of color. Blend Helleborus niger among the ferns and sweet woodruff. These hardy perennials stand above snow, like arrows, dark, leathery leaves and blooms in rainbow hues. Learn from Galanthus, dainty, delicate. They bravely push through snow and ice to ring their dangling white bell blooms. In sunlight, look into the face of a flower. In darkness, snow glows in star and moonlight. So even now, we can behold winter's garden while we wait.
Oh my God, spectacular, Sherry. Talk to us a little bit.
Okay, excuse me. Well,
We're all with you. We're all feeling that.
yeah. So this poem, Rabbi, was actually inspired by your description of the paper flowers that Adria gave to you. You talked about them one day, and you talked about the delight of looking inside them and the detail. And they're impervious to cold, to seasons, and I was also thinking of Sarah Siegel's blossom photos that she posts on Facebook that bring me such joy every time I see them. So then there's the fulcrum, when foundations crumble, what can we do? And this poem's an answer to that. And I follow the large structure of the psalm in 7 verses, the world in chaos first and the fulcrum. And then what can we do? We can plant and with the face of divinity as expressed in the natural world, sort of the intricacy of hope. And I usually look to the natural world, and it kind of shows what you can do, even in the harshest of times. You can take some actions, even small actions that reveal, I don't know, divinity, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, the imagery, the winter, obviously harshness, our world, snow and ice, but there's certain flowers that really can withstand the elements and hopefully like us, flower and color the world. So even in the darkness that you talk about, the darkness when there's no light, there's still light to witness divinity anyway.
Perfect.
That's it.
That's perfect. And I think you really beautifully express what so many of us are feeling.
Wow.
I'm really impressed, the names of all those things.
Well, I don't really know the name.
I feel like I'm such an Eastern European Jew. I know big flower, small flower. My name Kleinbaum, it's classic Eastern European botanical terms. Little tree, Groisbaum, big tree. That's like what Jews, but so I love having the real names there. And that detail just gives me joy. It just gives me pleasure. It's so beautiful.
Actually, Rabbi, I know like nothing about flowers, but I had heard somewhere that there were winter flowers, so I actually looked it up, and found out.
Always used to say, "It's not what you know; if it's you know where to find it." He did. This was long before the internet, of course.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Sherry.
Thank you.
I think of that song. That song, "Inch by Inch."
Yes.
That's
measuring the marigolds.
Yeah.
Inchworm, measuring the marigolds. That one? No, a different one.
Row by row, gonna make this garden grow. And it goes through all different ways and it's very anyway. All right, Donna.
Harold, could you please make it a little bit bigger?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
The Donna Gray, I was thinking the same thing, Donna, so I'm glad you said it.
For the lead player, whatever your name is.
That's great.
Who are you really? And why are you telling me to head for the hills? You were supposed to be my shelter. I put my faith in you, but you delivered insanity. The wicked fling off their masks, piercing the righteous with aerosol arrows of venom. Under the assault of their obstinate disregard, foundations of decency are crumbling beneath our feet. Desperate to blame, I look to Mother God for answers, but my gaze turns inward. Who am I really? And is my inner landscape as righteous as I fool myself into believing? Was the glee I felt when the wicked fell ill a sign of holiness? Or my rage at their shenanigans that wishes them dead? I long for tzedek, for justice, for a prescription of fire and brimstone to put an end to this madness. But evil exists whether I like it or not, and fear latches onto its coattails, hoping for a ticket to salvation. Instead of being holier than thou, let me own my own fear and breathe into it. Let me embrace those parts of myself I would rather will away. I will heed your warning to fly toward the hills, not to escape, but to reach for higher ground above the turbulence. I need to believe in the possible. I lift my eyes and I pray.
Oh, Donna, gorgeous. So honest, so meaningful. Tell us about writing it.
You know, I wrote it, you know, like a month ago, and I'm, you know, verklempt to share it today. I'm like about a minute from tears all the time. But, you know, like when I thought of Head for the Hills, like it sounded to me like I was being told, you know, to get out of town because the evil was pursuing me. And, you know, like I'm just exhausted
Yeah.
by, you know, all of it. You know, it's like it just never stops. And, you know, like when he who shall not be named fell ill, I was so excited and happy. And then I looked at myself and I went, what is this what it's coming to? You know, so like I know that, you know, this thing, like if you point a finger at someone, 3 fingers are pointing back at yourself, you know. So
Wow,
like,
I've never heard that. That's fantastic.
and so you know, so the thing is that, you know, I know that this is the human condition, and you know, whatever is part of the human condition exists in some senses in all of us. Like we all have a higher self and we have a lower self and we have a mask, you know, of what we show to the world to hide the ugliness that is there, that, you know, we think, oh, nobody would love me anymore if they ever saw that.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and then I was thinking about, you know, how is it that so many people, millions of people can chant, we love you, to a demagogue who lies and is so horrible? And then I was thinking, well, they're scared and they want to believe somebody telling them something that they can hold on to, grabbing onto his coattails, hoping that that will be their ticket to salvation. You know, and then I thought, well, okay, you know, so I'm looking at myself, I'm scared too. Let me breathe into my fear. Let me find some courage as I allow my feelings. And then let me look for higher ground inside myself. You know, higher ground of, you know, seeing the worst, but wanting to believe, needing to believe in the possible, the above the turbulence. So, you know, it was it was cathartic for me to write this.
These truths that you say reflect this very complicated reality we all are in. So thank you, Donna. Thank you. I mean, and it goes back to, I think some of you have been with me in some very difficult places, whether they've been a concentration camp in Europe or the lynching memorial in the South, that sometimes the most powerful thing we could do is just be a witness. Do you know what I mean? We don't always have to even have the answer to something, but turning away isn't an answer, but being able to say, okay, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to hold this, I don't have the answers, I can't explain it all, but let me just hold it all. I think that's the
And-
first step towards coming somewhere. But
And today, I
the
need
way,
to
let me just
believe in the possible of 270 electoral
right,
votes.
let's be very concrete, right? I'm feeling very confident about that, by the way. So, but there are bigger issues that are at stake no matter what, okay? Oh, Penny,
So,
here we go.
Kenneth,
Okay, after Psalm 11, foundations crumble, chaos and madness reign, reckless egos abound, fugitive in my false cocoon, fearful awakening, groundless, not knowing can be a place of hope.
Wow. Kenneth, Ira is influencing your style here, huh? To go for the,
It's not a haiku.
No,
I was warned off that.
but, the brevity is so powerful, isn't it? To see very, very few words used to get to such a place. So talk to us.
Well, it was born of waking up terrified many mornings. And
Yeah.
I believe that the human condition is to be groundless. It's just so amplified right now. And the two images in the psalm of crumbling foundations and of fleeing. And my fleeing is internal. I mean, I wrap myself up and separate myself in a cocoon. And the real hinge was when I came upon the word fugitive instead of fleeing, which has two meanings. I mean, to flee, and also it means something that is impermanent or temporary or fleeting, which is also the state of everything. Nothing is permanent.
Nothing is permanent.
And it also was about what can I believe God is now? And that's why that's the only word capitalized is hope.
Beautiful.
So it came pretty quickly.
Kenneth, I noticed immediately, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Kenneth is an architect. So to start with the first phrase here being foundations crumble, also as an architect, when you know so much about how buildings actually, I'm not sure if that was in your mind, but it certainly popped out to me as the concrete reflecting the deeper, less visible, more ephemeral. But for sure, do these few words express what so many of us are feeling? But to end with this, which is such a psalm-like architecture, not knowing can be a place of hope. Beautiful, really beautiful.
And after I wrote it, I would also say, not knowing can also be a place of action. I didn't want to put that in the psalm. It detracted, I think, from what I was saying.
Spectacular. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to share this with everybody.
Mary Ann King gives us a graphic piece. Mary Ann, are you here?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I made this, it seems like a lifetime ago when I did this. I'm not sure. But I think I know what I was intending. When I posted this online in the Psalms page, I wrote like three sentences kind of describing what it was. So if I could read that, that will kind of guide me to
Go ahead.
to explaining what I did. Off to the hills like a bird. Some advice, not a banishment, but a few hours away from fire and brimstone. Birds rise above the crumbling foundations, leaving the wicked and their arrows far behind. They can see in the distance, right at the edge of vision, a thin line of new green and a wide blue sky.
Beautiful.
I have tears also. It's kind of like being able to pull away from a situation. The bottom half of the painting is kind of a burnt out, swampy land that's gone, that's poisoned and not fruitful. And above, there's a thin kind of layer of green, kind of regrowth. And then there's the wide sky. The little feathery images are the birds kind of flying up and above, pulling away and kind of being able to see a greater picture of what's happening. So I don't know how convinced I am of that today, but it was, a month ago I was. I go in and out of feeling that there must be something we're missing, and maybe we have to stand away from it or something, pull away.
Marianne, can I ask you what the size is in the media you used? It looks like it's a hand cast piece of paper that's on a backdrop or something like that, but
it's about 7 by 12. It's a piece of bark.
Oh, wow.
That kind of, I like to work with materials that are either discarded or kind of repurpose the materials. I'm kind of in conversation with the materials. So this is a piece of bark. It's the inner side of the bark that would touch the tree. So you have different patterns from its relationship with the actual wood trunk. And there's different colorings. There's actually no paint on the darker brown area. It's basically, I just kind of use some matte medium to bring out the colors. The top part is acrylic paint. And I've kind of placed some birds in the landscape, kind of flying above.
So the top part is actually a piece of the bark.
Yes. Yeah, it's one sheet of bark. It's a real find when you can find a larger sheet of bark to be able to work on.
Wow, another piece for the art show, the amazing art show we're going to have when we
The
get
alleged
back.
art show.
And is
Unbelievable.
that mounted? So do you have it mounted on that paper, or is that just for the photograph?
That's just for the photograph. It would be hanging separately. I mean, it would be hanging, it's very delicate, so I have to kind of figure out,
Shadow
for
box.
showing purposes, if we ever get to show again, how to do it. But yeah, it would be just hanging.
And are those feathers you picked up and applied?
Those are feathers that, like I say, I kind of like look for discarded materials. Those are feathers from a hat. A long time ago, women, I guess, used to wear hats that were like just all feathers. And so I kind of rescued a few of the feathers that I liked from it. They're very tiny pieces, like a half inch, something like that.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. And I love the idea of taking something that you find and then, which is a piece of art, right, in its own, and then creating something with it and having that relationship to it. Beautiful.
I mean, I feel that I'm kind of in partnership with the materials. It's like a study partner.
Yep.
In a way, it's Habruta.
They're beautiful comments. I will just share this one from Sarah Siegel. All we need is 1/8 of an inch of green for hope and regeneration.
That's
So,
gorgeous.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
I think also the role that trees play in the Psalms is a whole other piece about
yeah.
I think back to Psalm 1, like a tree standing by the water where power is. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So Dorina has 2 offerings. I believe that she has an original offering and then a second one that reflects back on it. Dorina, would you like to explain what these 2 are?
Oops. Am I muted now, right?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yes, so what you see on the screen is the first one. Because my creative imagination has a mind of its own, and I wanted to write something entirely different. I wanted to give you some courage and hope, and instead this thing wrote itself in my head. So I started the second time over, and again I wanted to write something more optimistic this time, and again ended up with something entirely different from what I wanted to write. And what I wanted to write just stayed an unfinished draft. Just what I consciously wanted to write wasn't what
All right, so,
my
Dorina, why don't you read the two and then tell us more about your creative process, if that's okay? Do you want to read the first one and then the second one?
I already read the first one.
Okay. Why don't you,
when
since it
you-
was a while ago, why don't you read it again and then you can.
Okay. The third old veteran's psalm of complaint. Eastern Europe to US. I'm a third old veteran who has started all over again and again, worked herself to exhaustion, a retired revolutionary, as some younger people say with at best condescension. When the very foundations have crumbled again, what are the tired to do? I am no longer relevant. Those young people don't know who I am, and I don't know which battle to fight. Merely trying to choose brings me back to exhaustion, and I feel like an idiot while I'm struggling to cope with the rest of my life. When the very foundations have crumbled again, what are the tired to do?
And now share with us the second one. The first one was the tired old veterans, whoops.
Some complaint,
Complaint, and this is the tired old veteran psalm of gratitude.
yes.
Go ahead.
Third old veteran's psalm of gratitude. My chosen people, my adoptive tribe, I wish that I were younger when I found you. The road that led to you was long and winding. I walked that endless road for endless years without knowing where I was going. So when I came, I only wanted rest. At least I had the chance to take a break, to rest with you in your house for a while before we had to hit the road again. My chosen people, my adoptive tribe, it's good to walk in your midbar with you. I don't know if I could survive in mine. There are no buildings, there are no foundations. In this new world where all we have are screens, and with the winds of internet connection, our dwellings are as flimsy as Sukkot. But we can walk together through it all, my chosen people, my adoptive tribe.
Brilliant, moving. Dorina, your use of language is just so spectacular. Your references to both the original Psalms, but also expressing such deep, deep truths. I have often said that Americans have so much to learn from Europeans and in particular Eastern Europeans. And we in America think we invent everything. And so deep and so moving, Dorina. I think I speak on behalf of our whole class. We love you. We learn from you. We're so grateful that you're part of us.
Wow. So let's make, oops, somehow I lost it. So I'd love to make sure that we get through everything today.
What you're going to try?
And sorry, I dropped that one down. And we will
Interesting.
be,
I feel like Psalm 11 has been our framework for this whole period, and it's a profound one to be like that.
so, and people have asked, we will start a new thing. I'm going to be distributing the text of all of the offerings as soon as we've done them, so that people have them. That's why I was making some changes on the screen as we were reading them. As Kenneth was reading his, so we get exactly what people want. All right, Lori Krotman is next. Lori?
Whoops.
Oh, excuse me, Ellen, not Ellen, not Lori, excuse me, Ellen.
Right.
Post.
I think I read mine already.
You read yours already.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ellen.
Oh, okay. Harold, could you make it a little bigger?
Yes, I can. Anything for you.
Thank you so much. A Sukkot prayer for breaking bread on broad families. inspired by Rabbi Eli Friedman's Sukkot sermon for 2020. There is a catastrophe happening. The foundations have crumbled and lie like broken bricks on the sidewalk. Every Wednesday morning, a line of families straggles from the door of Road of Shalom to Green Street. They arrive on foot, pushing empty carts. Parents with babies and young children, grandmothers and grandfathers, patiently waiting for food, diapers, and menstrual pads, the occasional toy. We ask them to please wait longer. We're still filling bags, loading the tables with bags of food. Please don't sit on the curb, we tell them, because cars are coming through. Children in line for a bag of food. A single mother of a disabled child says she's about to lose her apartment and has no money. A smile stretches wide on a young girl's face in delight at receiving a toy, but there are no toys for next week. Where fathers hold up fingers 1 through 6 to tell us what size diapers they need for their children, because we don't understand the languages they speak. When we choose on Tuesday how much food to put in the bags they receive on Wednesday, where no one in line speaks English. When the people leave their carts to mark their places in line and come to help us unload the food from the truck. A mother and daughter have driven from Delaware to Philadelphia to deliver menstrual products from their small nonprofit and stayed to help pass out food. Each precious one created in your image, those in need and those who help. Hashem, may I see that sometimes those in need are passing out the food and those who help are in the line. Hoshana. Hashem, please give me the spine to stand with our guests, the vision to see the divine spark shining in each one, the words to speak with them or to find someone who can. Give me the heart of a repairer of the breach. Hoshana. May Road of Shalom be a place of shelter. Hoshana. May the foundations be rebuilt. May no one experience food insecurity. And may light break forth as the dawn. Hoshana.
Wow. Beautiful. So powerful. Speak to us about it.
So at our synagogue, we had a summer program for kids so that during the summer break, they could get food and we would play with them and provide some educational opportunities too. And then after the pandemic, there couldn't be a summer program. So we said, no worries, we'll start to just distribute the food outside. And we started putting the word out. And we started with like 3 families, 5 families. And now we're up to just about 100 families.
Wow.
And they are Hispanic and Asian. They bring their children. Very few speak English. They so much want ESL classes. And it breaks my heart every week.
So beautiful that you're doing this, and to put this in these words, reflecting the psalm, very, very, very powerful.
Thanks, Rabbi.
All right, who's next? Monica Raymond.
Okay. My soul's already fled to the hills like the bird. Give me one good reason why I should stick around. The foundations are crumbling. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full in passionate intensity. Yup, they've got drama, airtime, fire and brimstone, water flaring gasoline in their cups as they keep drinking, pouring that flaming water back into our cups too. Lots of heroics as they grow stronger and more relentless. You up there on your throne, 1%er of gods, this is supposed to make me feel protected? Enough with watching, like Earth some distant late-night bleary black and white TV, light years from your seat, eyelids drooping, reruns, good guys, bad guys, falling asleep on the couch. I know who you've supposedly been rooting for all these years, but please tell me, when is dawn coming? I've seen her passed out in the alley, still in last night's pale rose. Got superpowers? Now's the time to use them. Stop a cop's bullet in its chamber. Pull plutonium out of the earth with your scorched fingers. Then, in the alleys, tzaddikim who don't even know they're tzaddikim yet. Kiss them awake.
Wow. Wow. Incredibly powerful. And to express this level of anger and honesty in this beautiful way, using these references. I just love that my soul's already fled to the hills like a bird. Give me one good reason why I should stick around. The foundations are crumbling. Talk to us a little, Monica. Tell us about writing it.
Well, it's in 7 verses like the Psalm, and
I just say I love seeing a phone like that. I haven't seen a phone like that in a long time.
The sound of my internet's not that good, so you'll hear me better if I call in, and I thought I might be reading, so that was why I did it this way. Yeah, it's a landline. People are thinking it's so cool, but it just is what I have. So, I feel like a lot of the images from the Psalm are in there, and except in the last 3 verses, it kind of takes off. But I don't know, just the idea of God on the throne. I mean, that's a little archaic, and like at a distance and watching and picking out, kind of like Santa, like, are you going to get your present or not, And I just feel like we need the descended God, we need these interventions. And Dawn went from being daylight to this passed out girl, and then the whole idea of these people who are really doing good all the time, but they don't think of themselves as wise people. They don't think of themselves as tzaddikim. They just are there. And so we want a world where those people wake up to their wisdom and their goodness. Like that's what God could do, is wake those people up to their wisdom and their goodness and really intervene. God needs to intervene, or the gods in us need to intervene, So to make the world better, we need all these things where there's like an abrupt stop and a turnaround. So that's what's going on.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right. Ira is up next.
Okay, this is called Trust, 7 verses in haiku format, and I'm also, like you, using 7 verses like the original psalm. How can I trust God when wickedness surrounds me and holds me hostage? How can I trust God when the foundation crumbles and the walls collapse? How can I trust God when furious infernos are burning my soul? Can I trust myself to cultivate righteousness and deep compassion? Can I trust myself to be fearless and loving, to open my heart? Can I trust myself to see God's face before me, blazing like the sun? There's one more, Harold. And can God trust me not to flee to the mountains like a frightened bird?
Speak to us, Ira. This is gorgeous. And I love the rhythm and the structure very much.
So as I said, I also decided to do 7 verses like the original psalm had. And I was also very moved and inspired by the Bernstein version of this, which she says a lot. She starts all of her verses, "In God I trust." So I played against that image of trusting. And I realized, I at first it started to be all about how can I trust God, but then I realized that just as much as I find it hard to trust God sometimes, I also find it hard to trust myself. Sort of hearkening back to something Donna said about when Trump got sick, and the first impulse was to sort of delight and revel in that, and then go, wait a minute, who am I? Like, that's not who I want to be. So I wanted to bring that whole aspect of, can I trust myself to stay grounded in the person that I want to be through this madness? And then finally, thinking about my relationship with God. Well, if I'm in relationship with God, whatever that means, then God is also in relationship with me.
Yep.
And that's why I ended with, can God trust me?
Yes.
Not to flee and not to just take off and say, forget it all. This is too much. I can't deal with it. I'm just going to run away. Can God trust me not to do that? So I went through this sort of journey from trusting God to trusting myself and God trusting me.
Beautiful. That's just spectacular, Ira. Really spectacular.
Thank you.
And the language on some level is very simple, but goes to such a deep place, which is, of course, the goal, right?
Exactly.
Yep, beautiful.
Linda Watkin for our last offering of the day in this format.
Okay. Wandering on a Mobius. God of many names, I called you Adonai, I called you Jesus. Today I call you Adonai and wrap myself in ancient words. You heard me, watched while I pursued you, walked with me, sheltered me within your embrace. I heard others snicker, paint me chameleon, turn their cackle into hollow moans, force them to chew their words until spittle gobbles their speech. Restore their words, winnowed, scrubbed, and cleansed with love.
Wow. Would you talk to us about this?
Well, yes, I wanted to personalize the poem, and I wanted to actually hone it down to as few words as I could and adhere somewhat to the parallelism. And one of the things I noticed in Bernstein and Fisher was the very strong verbs. They use fly, pierce, smash, demolish, scorch, crumble. And I wanted to use strong verbs. And I was concerned with what a poem means, but how a poem means rather than just how. And what I really want to do was answer my question, how do I tell my story within the framework of the poem?
Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful.
Wow. So Rabbi, you
Yeah.
have a few words you wanted to share while I pull up Cantor Nimi's final offering for the day.
Yes, so there are a few things that I want to share with everybody. First of all, I see Psalm 11 as having been kind of our framework for this whole period, from before the election, moving through the election, moving through Devorah's death, and now we're ending it at this moment, and we will start. Is Marcia Melnick here today? I have to check with Marcia whether she and I will do the Siddur on Monday or whether we'll start Psalm 12. But we will let you know. But we will be starting Psalm 12 next week. And I think Harold over the weekend will certainly send out the various translations, but we'll start with Psalm 12. But there's some other big changes happening. Is Bruce or Babette on today? I don't know who's providing our tech support today. But immediately after the pandemic hit, we knew that we needed a lot of tech support at CBST to be able to manage the classes and everything as the technology was crashing on us. And we're very, very grateful to the Roberts. We hired them immediately to provide tech support for all of our classes. And Jason Zivic, we hired to continue doing the Friday night services and other services as he had done when we were in the sanctuary. Are the Roberts here? Bruce or Babette, are you here? I hope so. But today is the last day that the Roberts are playing that role. Bruce, are you here, Babette?
Yes,
So
I am.
We want to thank our we want to offer our deep thank yous to Babette and Bruce, who are really part of CBST. But because of budget issues, we have to now make some changes as the world is spinning around and around, and CBST is facing, like everybody else, some needs to figure out how to survive and do it in a healthy way. So from next week, unfortunately, the Roberts will not be doing all of the different classes, and various teachers and staff will be doing it instead. So if you're in a Hebrew class with a young person who knows how to do everything, they will not be having tech support, but all classes will close and lock at the time the class begins. So if you're in a Hebrew class and you can't get there till 10 after, you'll have to miss that day. We're just not able to manage having, we just have to make realistic choices. So whatever classes you're in, please try to get there 10 minutes early. The classes will lock.
First night, we have until 10 after begin.
Yeah, so do not come late. Unfortunately, that's just everybody has to step up and contribute to the reality of the world. And honestly, it's not respectful to your teachers anyway. So if you can't get to a class on time, we're going to ask everybody just to skip the class for that day. Tasha is going to start doing tech support for Psalms, so that because we have such a big class, it's a little hard not to have somebody on board. But still, we ask everybody, please get to class on time. And if you're not able to, you're just going to have to skip that particular day. But most importantly, we want to send a huge love and thank you to Babette and to Bruce. And they really stepped up when the times were very tough. And we hope we were helpful to you guys too. Everybody was losing work at the time. So we, and we'll continue using them for ad hoc things. And we're facing, 2021 with a lot of economic uncertainty like the rest of the world. And the board had to do some very serious cutting to our budget all over the place to make it possible. But we're not in an existential crisis place, but we had to do what you have to do, which is tighten our belts and figure out how to do this with a little less. And unfortunately, that means the Roberts won't be formally doing all these classes, but they'll be a part of the community, and we'll use them for events. And soon as we're back in Javits, Babette will be our stage manager again. Please God, that'll happen soon. But let's just give a big round of applause for Babette, who's been such a fabulous part of this class, really, from the very beginning. And we're so grateful to you, Babette. And
thank you so much. I appreciate all of that. Thank you, everybody.
Bruce, we love your children. And I can't wait to get onto a plane somewhere. And the captain is your son. Won't that be?
I know, right?
That'll be so cool.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you to Bruce and to Babette. We're so grateful. And the way you all as CBST members can help as we're facing various budget things, come to class early. Classes will be locked. It's just going to have to be a cultural land shift. So it'll be easier on running the classes so we don't have to watch the waiting rooms. Secondly, I just wanted to say tomorrow night services, I'll be talking, of course, as I always do, but of course, we'll be reflecting on where we are in history. On Saturday night, I'm going to be flying to Los Angeles for 3 weeks. And I've rented an Airbnb next to my daughter's house so I could quarantine, but I'll be able to still see them, outside and stuff. And it's warm in LA, so we'll be able to sit outside in the backyard. And then after quarantine, I'll actually be able to hold my grandchildren. So I'm really, but I will be teaching class. for the first 2 weeks from LA. This is how much I love you. I am not a morning person. Okay, I am not a morning person. So at 7 o'clock, I'll be teaching, and then Harold and I will talk about what'll happen for that final week when I won't be teaching. Okay, but I just wanted everybody to have the picture. I'll be leading services from LA. That I can do. That'll be 3:30 in the afternoon. That's a little easier. 7 o'clock in the morning. This is how much I love you all. But we'll start with either Psalm 12 on Monday or the Siddur, but we'll be continuing with Psalm 12 in some fashion. Anything else, Harold, that I should be saying about?
No, I apologize to a few people. Annika and I did our best to try to figure out who had and hadn't read all those weeks ago. Barbara Grindel and Shep had offerings, and I'm going to talk to them separately.
Let's do that on Monday then.
Okay, we'll do those on Monday.
Okay,
so that
great.
nobody
Let's do it
gets
on
left
Monday.
out.
No problem. Sorry, I just thought we were done, but that's no problem.
No.
We'll do that on Monday, but we will next week be moving to Psalm 12. So if over the weekend you want to start studying it, that would be great.
No, I think that is it. Of course, I thought you were going to say Rabbi, and as a board member, I will say if anyone wants to make an additional donation who is in this class, no, seriously, those help us with our tech support. And we already had a few people in chat who volunteered to help spell Tasha, if we need additional support for keeping the Psalms class running.
Yep.
And with that, we'll say an early Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to leave the room open for a few minutes.
And we have Cantor Nimi has his last offering.
And I'll stay on the class for a few minutes, and then after Cantor Nimi will sing first.
Okay, so view.
In light of being with Psalm 11, I'm also sitting with this one a lot this week too, and I'm finding it more hopeful than I found it to be when I first wrote it. Even though the lyrics are not altogether particularly hopeful, there's some cracks of light, I think, in it as well. So this is my musical interpretation of Psalm 11. What can we do when the world is a wilderness and no one can show us the way? When everything's shifting, the air filled with bitterness, does anyone know what to say? When even the very foundations are crumbling, a chasm between me and you. When even the righteous can't keep from stumbling, does anyone know what to do? Ki hashatot yeharesu tzadik mapa'am ki hashatot yeharesu tzadik mapa'am mapa'am. What can we do with the shadows surrounding us and danger at every turn? When arrows are flying and God takes account of us as if we have something to learn, is there still a chance for the good of humanity to shine from a righteous heart? Is there still a hand that could lead us to sanity, at least hold our hand in the dark? Ki hashatot yeharesu tzadik mapa'al. Ki hashatot hareson tzadik mapa ki hashatot yeharesun tzadik mapa.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I love you all. Amazing how enriched we are by doing this journey together. Thank you, everybody, for all of your offerings. The room will stay up open for about 5 minutes and then close. So everybody who needs to leave, you're welcome to leave, or people can stay for a few minutes. Jack Neiman, are you here? Did I see that you're here for the first time?
Yes.
Yes, I am here for the first time. Hi, everyone. This was really great. I'm so sorry I come so late to this, but it's just, you know, our building is under construction. So from Hurricane Irma, if you can believe it. So there's always so much noise and you just can't go anywhere to hear anything. And there's no escape. Anyway, thank you so much.
Headphones, Jack. They save my life. Anybody else where they have the noise canceling thing? Oh my God, I put them on the computer. You'll be completely happy.
I
will
use them. Thank you so much, everyone. Those poems were really just wonderful.
All right, everyone, I have to go. An early
Hi.
Shabbat to anyone I don't see.
Cantonini, what was the psalm for the first offering you gave?
Oh, so the first offering was one that I wrote back when we were studying Psalms 3 and 4.
3 and 4, okay.
So I think that the Hebrew verse in the refrain came from Psalm 3, but the English lyrics were based on verses from both Psalms 3 and 4.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cantor, are you joining any of these together? It'd be fabulous to have like a CD.
At some point, there will be an album. I think that there needs to be there'll be a few more. Right now, there have been three songs that have been directly inspired by the work that we've done in this class. So I imagine by the time we get further along, there will be more.
Jack Neiman, by the way, is joining us from Florida. For those, who else is here from Florida? Who else is in the class from Florida? Linda Solomon, Ruth Berman. Nice little Florida group.
Barbara Grindell when I get there in about a month.
Right. You're there
in about a month.
Right,
we're still here. Yes.
Yeah, so we have a nice Florida group. Florida. Oh my God, Florida, huh?
Oh my God, Florida.
That is my birth state too. I have so many mixed feelings about it.
Did you grow up there?
I grew up north of Orlando. Yeah, I went to Florida State.
Uh-huh.
So.
You know, when you go to the supermarket here, you see, you know, MAGA hats, and you see, I mean, you can see that at Trader Joe's. I mean, you know, or Costco. I mean, it's just, you know, we lived with it. You know, they're with you. They're there.
Mm-hmm. They're everywhere. What part of Florida are you in?
We're in Miami Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I come back,
really
I'm in Boynton Beach. So,
Jack, you're really in the heat of it.
Sorry?
You're really in the heat of it, MAGA.
Yes, it's a little disappointing. I mean, and disheartening sometimes because, you know,
yeah, I don't get it either. I just don't get it.
Well, a lot in Miami-Dade are the Cuban and Venezuelan.
Right.
Yes, these are the 1% of the reporting that is out there is that this group that we have, mainly the Venezuelans and the Colombians and the Cubans, are Trump supporters, but the majority of the Latino community is for Biden. So we.
Yeah. If you looked across, Arizona votes had come in earlier, one of the big amazing things about this election is that other than the Venezuelans and the Cubans who are mostly in Florida, and they are the reason Florida went for Trump. Had they not been there, Florida would have gone for Biden, actually. But across the country, for the first time, we see a massive turnout of Latino voters, and they voted Democratic. That is one of the stories that has not yet been told. The problem is what happened in Florida, but you can't look at Latino voters as one big unit. Each community is quite different, has very, very different politics and very different issues.
The Latinos are saying that themselves. They're also saying the same thing. I'm sorry, Noreen.
No, go ahead.
Dean, go ahead. I'm finished.
Well, and for some of those countries, for Cuba and Venezuela in particular, the fear of communism
Yes.
is really
Yes, that's
is really visceral. And on one hand, I really do empathize.
I do too. Listen, when Randy and I were in Florida last weekend, we went to a big Latino rally for Biden. And one of the signs that was all over in Spanish, but I can't speak Spanish, but I could understand it obviously because it's close enough, said, "No to communism, no to socialism, no to Castroism, yes to Biden." I mean, that's what they have to say visibly in a Cuban.
right. Right.
And
I see.
it was so interesting to see that as a sign that everybody was holding.
Yeah, that was good.
Why would the other Cubans go for this wannabe fascist if they left Cuba and
Because the fascism in Cuba they experienced was communism. So they see anybody who stands up against communism as saving them. And they say, yeah, you got to be a strong man to prevent communism, which destroyed their country in their mind.
Right.
And they lost their money, they lost their houses, they lost their life, everything about their lives. So they said, of course, you need a strong man to prevent communism. So they don't see it the way that, and unless we start to understand how all these different communities understand it. And what I saw in Florida, which is something we in New York make as a joke, the painting of Biden as a socialist was very effective. It is a joke. And they say, okay, maybe Biden himself isn't a socialist, but he will let the socialists in. He's the Trojan horse.
Right.
The other argument that in New York we think is a joke, the argument that lawlessness is taking over the cities and we need a strong man to stand up. These people who come from Cuba or Venezuela saw what happens when lawlessness takes over. And they're afraid. They're really afraid. And they see Biden is letting in a bunch of socialists who are going to destroy the country and not stand up against lawlessness in the streets.
But my question is, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is, why is that message louder than the Biden message?
Because the Republicans have Fox News and they're very, very good at a single message. We who are on the other side, we're nuanced, we agonize, we have 15 different messages. They don't care about 15 different messages. Biden's a socialist and he's going to destroy the country.
And Bernie Sanders called himself a socialist.
What?
Bernie Sanders used.
And Bernie Sanders calls himself a socialist. AOC calls herself a socialist. So they say the Democratic Party is a bunch of socialists, and Biden isn't going to be strong enough to stand up against the socialists.
Right.
And they're not worried about COVID either.
What?
The COVID message wasn't part of their concern either.
Well, they're concerned.
They believed the Republican governor here.
Yep.
And also we have here, sadly, Laura Loomer.
Right.
in
Palm Beach. Now, Laura Loomer carried.
Did you see the ad that they used about me, that she used about me? Did you see that? No. Laura Loomer used an ad produced by a very right-wing group that said I was an anti-Semite and had pictures of me with AOC, with Rashid Tlaib, with Bernie Sanders, and said, we represent the Democratic Party. Laura Loomer is a really right-wing extremist Jewish, really extremist nutcase. But she tried to appeal to the Jews of her, but luckily she lost. But you can see, if you read that, if you hear that message, you get what the narrative is. It's a very simple one.
Right.
And AOC and Bernie identify as socialists. So it's not, they take a grain of truth. Yeah.
Also, my roommate, who's Puerto Rican, Alicet, said that we did not, the Bernie was not addressing the multiplicity of the Latin community early enough. That it wasn't the wall, that was not their issue. Puerto Rico and other places have other issues around employment. Southwest Texas has a lot of, folks who are Latin who work in the oil industry. So they, the Republicans targeted.
But I think the one takeaway is that it's a very diverse and a complicated community. The other issue is a lot of Latino folks are evangelicals. Christianity and traditional Christian family values, very important in the Latino community. We have this idea that if they're not white, they're going to be somehow radical. That's just nonsense. And but with all of that being said, for the first time ever nationally, the Democrats got the Latino vote. That's what's amazing. Not in Florida, but we just have to remember, and this is not just a race issue, although it's for sure also a race issue. The evangelical church is growing the fastest in the Latino community.
Well, one of the statistics that came out in the discussion is that Florida, sadly, only 1/3 of the population has a college education. 1/3 of the entire state. We have like over 20 million people. 1/3 with a college. That means 2/3 have no higher education. So, how do you combat that? How do you educate that?
I think the first thing we have to say is there's no one answer to all of these things. And we've got to learn and get deeper and be more thoughtful and keep going. There's going to be 2022, and there's going to be, thank God, we're going to keep on moving.
Paul, though, to come from New York state of mind to Florida, I mean, you always feel as though you're on a different planet.
That's true. But Jack, just because I know too many Republicans who have college degrees and beyond, so we can't just chalk it up to that the state is not educated.
Right.
There are very, very smart people who only had high school educations.
All of the exit polls, if the independents and Republicans with college education, overwhelmingly voted for Biden. It doesn't mean you don't know it doesn't mean that's every single person.
Of course.
The category, we got a lot of votes for Biden.
But we can't generalize, though.
Right. That's always true.
I don't mean to generalize, but
there's no question that the big group of high school graduate only level seems to be true across racial lines. Anyway, we are living in interesting times, as they say.
Absolutely. Safe travels, Rabbi.
Thanks to everybody for services tomorrow.
And Kim Gesund.
Thank you very much. And tonight, again, remember there's a Shiva for Devorah at 6:30 that Rabbi Rapport will be leading.
We have a rehearsal, so I don't know if I'm going to make it to the Shiva tonight.
Okay, there's anher Shiva Saturday night and another.
I'll be there for the other things. Yeah, but we have we're doing another piece for Hanukkah.
I know nothing happens that Joyce and I don't talk about. Believe me,
I know that. I know.
Of course.
Safe travels, Rabbi. Safe travels. We'll see you.
Well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Noreen, that was great.
Thank you.